Look, if you want to kickstart an art career and start making money, then you definitely want to watch this video. So we're going to cover a few things in this video. First, we're going to cover like what it is to have an AI assistant versus just AI generated art. How you can use that talent to make money. And a little bit of history first about what art is and whether it's art. So first off, I just want to show something here. This is my DeviantArt account. I've been using my DeviantArt account for over 13 years. All the time that I've been teaching on Udemy, basically. And I've only managed to gain 1,000 followers in all that time. Not very good. That's actually very poor. I had over 300 pictures on there that I did over the years, most of them from like different art courses and stuff. Now, I never cross-promoted really, which I should have done. That is, I never really shared my DeviantArt with my Udemy students. I should have done that to try to build both of them up together. But in the last month, since I started using AI as an assistant to help me render, this image right here I did 6 days ago, 36,000 views already, 622 favorites. In that 1 month so far, I've gained 3,000 extra followers. I'm over 4,000 followers now. Because it's able to help me produce art so quickly that I can post 1 or 2 images a day, which definitely helps increase like being constantly active. I wasn't that active on DeviantArt before. That's one thing, but also having really good images really helps. And in that time, it's helped me get commissions without even asking for it. Only like a month ago, I put up something for commissions and stuff because people started asking me. I wasn't planning on doing that. I just started posting work on here to see what happened. And then people started contacting me saying, hey, do you offer commissions? So I decided to go ahead and set up the commissions through DeviantArt. And I can go here to, now this is just in a month, right? So this is the money I have that's still pending. This is money that I can take out right now. And so when you add that together, it's over $700, like $750. And this is just getting started. And this is just through DeviantArt. This is without trying to advertise it or anything like that. Most of this is through commissions, but some of it, look, it's through inexpensive downloads. I charge 50 points to 100 points for download for my artwork. And who knows how much this is going to grow. If you do art that's popular, that is, do popular characters like John Wick and superheroes and things like that, Elsa from Frozen, do things that are seductive, that works really good and that sells really good here on DeviantArt. That's mostly what people want for commissions. It used to be that I would come onto DeviantArt, log in after a month and only have a few of these to check. I haven't checked it. I deleted all of them, was down to 0. That was a couple hours ago. I'm already at 140, 154. Went to bed, woke up, I was at like over 600. This is the kind of popularity you will gain if you take my course, learn all the things. Look at that, boom, just got a favor for John Wick. Learn all the things I teach in it and apply it and start using it. You can get really good really fast and then start posting your work on things like DeviantArt, ArtStation stuff, and build a fan base and start getting commissions. They'll just start coming in. You can also go out of your way and actually set up something on Fiverr for doing commissions and stuff. So let's talk about whether or not this is actually art. So first off, let's go back to photography. So when photography was invented, by the way, this is an AI generated image. You can tell because look at Nikon's not quite. I'm actually surprised it's spelled Nikon right here, didn't here. But with some quick Photoshop editing, I could turn this into what looks like a photo. That's all correct. And actually, if you use something like Midjourney 5 for this kind of stuff, it does a better job. But when the camera first came out, right, maybe people were upset. A lot of artists were probably upset. I don't know, I wasn't there, but I'm sure a lot of artists were upset about this. It revolutionized the advertising agencies, right? Where before you had to get illustrations done, where people had to paint things by hand. But now, with the camera, a lot of that changed, right? So you can see so much advertising today is photography. And photography became its own art in its own right. So I went here to ChatGPT just to show you what I'm talking about. I already knew what these were, but I just wanted it to see if it come up with something I wasn't thinking about. What traditional art skills are needed for photography? And what does AI tell me? Well, it's right, composition. I teach this in my fundamentals course on everything. So if you're going to want to do this and you want to make really professional artwork, you're still going to have to know some traditional skills, right? Now, these traditional skills they're more knowledge based rather than, hand-eye coordination based. Like to learn how to draw takes a lot of practice, a lot of time. It's a skill where it takes hand-eye coordination, whereas composition doesn't. Composition is knowledge, but it's still something you have to know. If you don't know composition, no matter what kind of art you're doing, whether photography or AI assisted artwork or drawing or painting, it's going to suffer and not be professional. The next thing is you absolutely have to know lighting. This is true for whether you're painting, drawing, or doing photography or doing AI assisted work. You absolutely have to know lighting. Without knowing lighting, you're not going to know whether your piece is good or not. You might just set up some weird lights or go outside to the sun and like your work looks amateur and people can feel and see that. And especially if you're trying to render artwork out and you don't know how to render lighting well, it's not going to work. So the same traditional lighting theories and stuff that you learn for doing painting and stuff, that carries over into photography. You have to know that to make good photography. But the way you set it up is different, right? You have to actually paint it or draw it as an illustrator, but as a photographer, you have to set up your lights, but you have to know how to set up good lighting, how to achieve the end result that you want. You absolutely have to know color theory. Without color theory, photography is no good. You have to know what colors people like. When photographers set up a piece, they don't just say wear whatever you want. It's very specific. You're going to wear this color. This is the background. They sometimes will, if they can't find the right color they need for the background, they'll paint the background. They'll go into a room, whatever. They'll just paint the walls the colors that they need them to be. Now, with things like Photoshop and stuff, you can actually do a lot of that through photo manipulation, which is also an art form. You don't necessarily need drawing and sketching skills, while it also tells us this. You can read that there. But it is helpful to set up little thumbnails and things like that. But what is important is storytelling. This is important for all forms of art. So all of these are important for drawing and painting, but notice they carry over into photography, which is why photography is an art form. Storytelling, you have to know how to tell a story with your photography. You have to know how to tell a story with your images as well. So then I asked it, what about posing? Because it left this out. This is super important. Not only is this important for traditional art, whether photography is traditional art, but whether or not you're doing an illustration or a painting, whatever, drawing, comic book, you have to know how to pose your figures in interesting ways that not only tell stories, but are just interesting to look at. You're capturing the right angles and all this kind of stuff for the human figure. So this requires knowing anatomy. Now, you don't have to know anatomy so much for photography, but it's good to have a rudimentary understanding of anatomy so you know kind of what angles the body should be at to capture the best look. And then gestures and expressions is super important for any form of artwork, including photography. You have to know how to tell the person to be in the proper gesture or expression that you want. But also with photography, you need communication. You don't really need that for art unless you're using a live model, or you need to take a picture of the person for reference. And then creative visualization, not so important, but it's there. So then I asked, well, what extra traditional skills do you need to be an illustrator, right? Based on all the stuff I already said. So the extra stuff you need, obviously, you need drawing skills. You need to know how to put pencil to paper, make proper marks, and make things that look good. You need to have painting skills, most likely. This would include digital painting skills in the modern day. I don't think you really need this anymore. This is kind of a dying art form, but some people still do it. Graphic design is super important if you want to do things like brochures and, illustrations that require text on it, or anything like book covers or magazines or brochures or logos and things like that. And then, of course, storytelling is important, and it mentions that it already said this for photography, but it said, I don't know, I wanted to repeat it for some reason. So really, the only extra things you need to be an illustrator versus a photographer is physical things like the actual painting skill and drawing skill. That's really it. Graphic design is something you need as a photographer too if you want to get into that world of graphic design. So this is kind of a different thing altogether. It's not necessary for a drawer to be a graphic designer, right? Oftentimes you'll hire an illustrator just to do the illustration, hire a graphic designer to put that illustration into a good composition and stuff and proper letters and all that. So this is a skill on itself. Like graphic design is its own separate art skill that isn't necessary. But anyway, so really the only two are drawing and painting. In other words, the difference between a photographer and an illustrator, as far as what skills you need, drawing and painting, all these other skills that I went through are necessary for photography as well, which is why photography is an art form. Now, if for some reason you're concerned about the ethical concerns of using AI in your artwork, well, first off, keep in mind that when photo bashing first came out, people are like, oh, that's stealing art and stuff like that because you're taking textures from other people's photos or taking pieces of people's work and stuff and putting it in your own. But it's perfectly fine and legal, and it's now industry standard. If you feel like it's unethical, well, I guess that's your own choice. You can choose not to do it. But if for some reason you don't like the idea that you feel like maybe you're stealing other people's work, well, things like Adobe Firefly are coming out soon. You can join the beta, and that's going to cure all that anxiety you might have. So now you can use my techniques, but you can start using them using something like Adobe Firefly when it comes out. And the reason why this gets rid of the ethical concerns is because they use images that they own. Their AI is trained on all images that they own rights to, and all the artists are paid adequately. Okay. So now what is the difference between AI art assistant versus AI generation? Well, let me kind of demonstrate it for just a second. So here's an example of just generating an artwork. You have to come up with a good prompt. So Harley Quinn, let's say action scene, and then we're going to say illustration, detailed art station, something like this. This is not going to give us anything specific, right? It's not going to give us something that I'm trying to go for. We definitely can't use this for client work. And it's not going to give us the outfit that we expect to have. You can try to tell a traditional outfit, it doesn't work anyways. It's not going to give you her traditional outfit. It's not going to give you any outfit that you know. It's just going to do something kind of neat, unique and creative on its own. But this could be used as a base for something. Now you can try to tell it a certain kind of pose or something like that. Now what's cool is you can kind of use this in the way that a photographer would. You can actually use a realistic thing and kind of be a photographer in this way. It's like how to be a photographer without expensive camera and stuff. It works really good for landscapes and things like that. But there's no way I can use this. I can't just be an AI generator and do work because my clients want very specific things. And there's no way the AI generation is going to do that. And that's where AI assistance comes in. So here's some examples that I've done. So let's look at this one, for example. So this is the image that my client sent me of his original character. He's like, hey, I really want a mermaid that's like this, but in your style. But he specifically wants it in this pose, right? All this has to kind of match. And I'm allowed some artistic freedom. I didn't think this looked that good. And so I advised, let's make the arm extended out like this. It looks better. And he agreed. But as you can see, I was able to take his idea here, the general concept, and turn it into something brilliant with my course that I teach all this, how to do this. In fact, we do one very similar to this in my course where I take one of his ideas and sketches. Now, this wasn't enough here. I show how to do it, but what I had to do is I had to erase some of these bubbles, and I had to erase the background. Then I had to paint in a basic idea of a background, so like a basic concept of dark blue down to light blue. And then I was able to start generating that into something like this, and that takes some other things I show all in the course. What's important to know is it took a lot of work on my part, and then I had to paint some extra stuff because it got some stuff wrong. Then I had to put it back through, paint stuff, put it back through, paint. It's a back and forth process. Took about 3 hours. But once you start making pieces like this and start putting them in even art or ArtStation, whatever, you will start gaining a following. At first, it might be a little bit slow, but just keep at it. Try to post one artwork a day. Using these techniques, it's really easy to do that, because if for some reason you just don't have the time to put in an hour to 3 hours, because a lot of these will take an hour to 3 hours, but if you want to generate something fast, it's easy to do that. Just do like a portrait or something, and that you can basically generate that. You don't have to do much work at all, and you can post that if you don't have much time to do anything else. But just try to make sure you're posting an art piece a day, and you will start building followers. At first, it's a slow ramp, and then it will, like, over time, it'll ramp up at some point. But let's look at one that's even more specific. So this character, a very specific clown girl character, all these elements were something I had to have in the final piece. She had to have the big clown shoes. They had to be pink and white. She had to have these things. She had to have these very specific pants where they're pink on one side, orange on the other, orange dots, pink dots. It had to be exactly like this. The shirt had to have these specific stripes in it, had to have this, had to have the clown nose and all this, had to have these florals, had to have this neck thing, white gloves. All this was a very specific character, had to have the white flower here. AI generation could never do this, no matter how good your prompt is. It's just not there yet. Maybe in the future it will be, but right now it is not there. You can't make it happen through image to image. You can't do it through ControlNet. There's just no possible way to generate this image. Especially, the idea was, not only did they want their character be very specific character, which is a very cartoonish character, so I had to translate all that into my style, which is not cartoonish. And then she had to be jumping, so I had to put her in a jumping pose. And the sidewalk is supposed to look like she's basically turned the sidewalk into a trampoline. And so I kind of conveyed that through these kind of warped lines, which I had to do in Photoshop. This is a piece that took a while. I think it took like 3 or 4 hours. But using all the techniques I teach in my course, I was able to achieve this. Again, the link's in the description, or looked at the top pinned comment. So what this took is, it took me first doing a basic painting. Very quick and dirty. Doesn't have to be very detailed or anything like that. Just convey the basic idea. Or you can even use a 3D model at first, and then just paint a basic tight outfit on it without any details and stuff, just to kind of capture. Then I told it pants, and eventually got pants, and I had to take it back into my paint program and change the color of the pants to be like this with the dots, and then go back in and start rendering it, and then fix it and render it, and so on, right? Anyway, I won't get into that here. Just know that I teach all the techniques. So another one was this one here. So specifically, they wanted it to be of their character. They gave me some different comic drawings of their character. She has to have red panties. She has to be in these red gun holsters. Had to be putting on her red shirt, and had to have some of her outfit, the rest of her outfit, in the background here, which is like this thing she wears over her legs, kind of. And just want her getting dressed, so I put her in a bedroom. So all that was pretty easy. But I had to, draw this out, the basic. I think I actually, sometimes I just use a 3D model because it's faster and easier. Then you just draw and paint on top of that. But in this case, I think I just drew a sketch and then kind of colored it really fast just to get the basic idea. And then I have AI work with me to render that. So this one, to get this pose, you absolutely have to pose, right? Anyway, this one here, actually, this is something we do in my course. Step by step, I show the entire process of how we achieve this. And what I wanted to show is the kind of client work you're going to get, right? So someone might say, I really like Harley Quinn in her original Jester outfit, which is this black and red outfit. Very specific design. AI will never generate this, no matter how many times you try. And then they want it in this very specific pose where she's holding a gun and she's doing the peace sign, right? And they want a carnival in the background. Well, there's just no way you will ever get AI. Well, maybe in the future, but as of right now, you cannot get this generated by AI. It's just not going to happen. Not anything even remotely close to it. And so I show how to do it step by step. So we start with like a 3D model. We basically paint a very similar, or not paint, but we kind of change the color. Well, actually, no, we paint on top of it, then we do overlay or multiply or whatever with red. And so we basically put her into a red latex outfit, and then we take it back into our paint program and we change the color to black, put these designs on it, and we work on it step by step. And that's the whole process of, and I have other videos on here. I'll be posting the one here, the short version of this soon. Here's one a client wanted me to do, very specific design. At first, I actually didn't understand what he wanted. Oh, I thought I had both. Huh, where's the other one? Well, there's actually another version of it as well. Maybe I didn't keep it, where she wasn't as muscular. She wasn't really muscular at all. I just misunderstood what he wanted. And so I had to go back and correct that. And that's going to happen. You have to know how to do corrections. And I show that in the course as well. And so he wanted very specific design. He wanted her in this tight black turtleneck. He wanted her in this, he called it a thug cap, but this is actually like the kind of gay cap that was worn by the dude in the YMCA thing. When you search them on like Amazon, you have to type something like gay cap or something like that for it to come up. He wanted her to be very muscular, flipping us off, that was very specific, and reaching for her stiletto knife in her, he wanted her in black stilettos and black garter belt, whatever, nylons, and the knife had to be there in front of like a bar, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, I can do that. But you notice I can't generate this. Like, you can use the best prompt you want, and you're never going to generate this image. It's just not going to happen. You have to use my techniques, and that's the difference, right? You have to, it's going to, if first off, AI is going to want to put this center, right? So I generate a background, I generate her, then I generate her on the background, I put the background in Photoshop, and then I generate that together to make sure it all works together color-wise. Then it handles the lighting, everything, in order to get this kind of composition, right? So you have to know certain art techniques. All that stuff is important. You still have to learn a bit about anatomy, because sometimes it gets anatomy wrong. You're not going to notice if it's wrong and how to fix it if you don't know anatomy. You still have to know composition, right? So basically, in the very least, you need to also take my fundamentals to drawing anything course. That along with my new course working with AI. So this one here, another one by the same client that wanted one of his mermaids done. In this case, he wanted this one to be blonde. He wanted it very specific pink. He wanted it nude. I just did this really fast so you can see it. The version that this isn't even the finished version, by the way, that I sent to him, but I just wanted to kind of show the basic idea. And then this is a very specific character, so has to be a goth character in kind of a old dingy town, like a hillbilly town, so like a hillbilly goth girl. She has to be doing this sign here, the rock sign, whatever you want to call it, devil sign, people call it sometimes. She had to have this cropped hair, had to be red and black ombre, had to be like in a black crop top shirt, had to be in this kind of school uniform, Catholic schoolgirl kind of mini skirt, black and red, and then tights and cool shoes. And then it had to be in a cool kind of, pose where it's described as her knees kind of coming in and stuff. And I actually based this off an old drawing that I did. So you can't get this by just saying, generate this. It doesn't understand this at all. I had to paint the hand completely because it just doesn't understand this hand gesture. Now, there is a new technique where if you can pose this in a 3D program, you can use ControlNet and you can create a kind of map. I forget what it's called, but you can use that in ControlNet and then just have all the rest of the image be black and then do inpainting and have it just do the hand, and it will generate a hand like that really good. So that's a cool technique that I haven't actually used yet. So that's one I already showed. And then here's another one, same guy. He actually came back for several. Some of them I cannot show because they're nude. I actually did a nude version of this one for him. This one I actually do in the course. So we learned, this is the version we do for the course. He liked it so much that I did another one for him like this with nude though. Here's one for a client for a cover that they're doing. I don't know what words are going to be on it, but it's for a comic book. This is for like volume 3 or something. And here's his two very specific characters. And this one was very specific. One, they had to be in a prison cell. Two, they had to be in this position. He gave me a sketch of a pose where they had to be on their knees like this, arms behind their back. They had to be in their orange prison shirts. And she had to be in blue panties, her in black panties. And they had to have kind of a look of fear on their face. She's more of a badass character, so I made her like a little bit fear, but more like, what the hell, and then she's like more scared. Very specific hairstyle with the short bangs. Just getting this AI to generate a hairstyle like this is so difficult. So it's much easier if you do a quick painting. So in this case, do a quick painting of what I want, use my different techniques to get this end result, but there's no way you're ever going to get this generated. And then I did the shadow separately, but you're never going to get AI to generate this. It has a really hard time doing two characters anyway. It mixes the two characters together. So, but I show like different techniques how you can do two characters. This isn't one we do in the course, but this one here is not an actual client work. I just wanted to show you that it's possible using my techniques that I teach in my course to do this. So all the techniques I teach in my course, you're able to do this. This is more of a painterly style that I did, but this is a very specific character, Psylocke, and you know her outfit is very specific here. To get all this, I had to use all my techniques in my course to do that. So it requires you doing painting. You can't just generate that. It's not possible. I had to blur this one. This is for a client, and yes, it's gigantic. That's what he wanted. And this one was really difficult because it was very specific. So one, the outfits are very specific. He described them very, very specifically, and he's very peculiar. If I don't do it right, he'll tell me to fix it. So had to have this dude with anguish on his face, and which I captured quite well. Well, AI helped me capture it quite well. She had to have this cigarette in her mouth. She had to be doing a smirk. They both had to be wearing this specific kind of hat. He had to obviously be like she had to be bending over with her hand on the bar. They had to be in like a tavern. She had to be lighting her cigarette or about to light her cigarette, or it's already lit, but she holding the lighter. She had to be buff. Had to be in a black miniskirt, had to be in the black tights, had to be in high heels, had to have the stiletto here, had to have the garter belts, he had to be in blue jeans and black boots, he had to be in a vest, he had to be in this hat, and all this was very specific, and he had to have his huge junk sitting on her butt, so that was very specific, he wanted that. And I'm like, wow, how am I going to do that? This one was very challenging. I had to use all the techniques that I teach in my course to pull this one off. It took a lot of creativity. So but if you learn all my techniques and you have a creative mind and a little bit of talent, you can definitely do this stuff. Another one for the same client. Oh yeah, here's the other one. Okay, so this is what I originally did for him. I really misunderstood what he wanted. And you can see how different that one was. But same idea was there. This one here, the client specifically has this character they wanted, and this character is very specific. All these details are exactly as they designed them. Matter of fact, let me just show you his character. So this is what I mostly get, is people that want a very specific character done. Usually it's one of their own original characters, or someone else's original character that they really like and they want it done in my art style, which is really just like my art style that I'm developing while working along with AI. So all this outfit details had to be there. All this has to translate over into this Chun-Li pose. So then he sent me some dude that does some Chun-Li stuff. I think it was basically in capturing image inside the video game. And I had to put her in that specific pose, which was this pose here. And so I took the original Chun-Li pose. I actually made a short showing how I did this one. So just watch the short I posted here on the YouTube channel, and you'll see how I did it. But I had to start with that. It had to be this very specific pose. She had to be shooting fireworks out of her hand, and or he said or feet. I chose to go with the hand, and yeah. So that was all very specific things. So I had to nail all these things. So this took, taking that Chun-Li pose and then painting over Chun-Li, painting out all the stuff that didn't need to be there, and painting this specific outfit onto it. So basically just kind of repainting the Chun-Li to be her, because Chun-Li has the big outfit here and stuff, so I had to do a lot of painting. And then I was able to start generating and using my different techniques to get it to this end result here. So if you learn these techniques, right, so you can see it's not, I don't know, I might have to blur something out here. Okay, cool. Actually, all this is pretty safe. This one's not safe if I scroll down. So if you learn all these techniques, and if you already know a lot of the traditional stuff, or if you haven't done traditional stuff, then definitely take my course. So this is my DeviantArt account. It's linked in the description. So if you want to just click on the link in the description, you can come and follow me and see new stuff I do. Or if you want to see all my nude stuff, it's all on here as well. There's some stuff I can't show unless you subscribe, so only $2 for a subscription. You get access to XXX, XXX stuff. And if you go to my website, masterpaintingnow.com, you can sign up for subscription, which I highly recommend. By the way, if you used to be signed up to my website, you need to re-sign up again because I accidentally deleted all my subscribers on accident, so they're all gone. Man, I need to update this. This is way behind. I'm at over 90,000 students now, so that's like I need to update that. Anyway, you click here, and you can download my different brushes that I use. My Bob Ross brushes, my main brushes I use for PaintStorm. PaintStorm is like my favorite thing to paint in. Like it's better than anything else I've ever tried. I've tried everything, just about everything. Anyway, so you can also sign up for my newsletter if you want to keep in touch. When I don't hardly ever send out newsletters, but when I do come out with a new course and things like that, I will. Definitely subscribe to that though, for the cool free lessons that come out and stuff, just to make sure that you're always kept up to date when I come out with new things. And so the art courses you definitely want to take is you're going to want to take my new one, which is here on the homepage. Definitely take this art course. Highly recommend my 3D anatomy course if you just want to really get good at sculpting and just drawing and painting. It's absolutely necessary. But the one you're going to want to take is the fundamentals of drawing and painting anything, which actually I don't think I have linked to here. Nope, I don't have it linked to here. Oh no, I do. It's down here though. I think. No, actually, I don't even have it linked on my main website, but it is on the Udemy. So if you go to any of these and no, here it is, right here. Fundamentals of drawing, anything like that, right here. So this is the one you definitely want to take. So if you only take 2 of my courses because you want to get into this, take this one, and then take obviously my new course, which shows all the techniques on how to do this. Now, even if you don't take my fundamentals course and you just take this new course, you will start drawing amazing things because for the most part, it has a good understanding of lighting and composition and stuff. But when the client says, hey, I want her doing this, you have to know at least the rule of thirds or something if you don't know any of that about composition. So I highly recommend taking the fundamental course too, just to learn that stuff. So a lot of it's knowledge based. So it's not like stuff you have to really practice to get good at or anything. So in the end, is AI art? Well, it depends, I think. So is photography art? Yeah, I think photography is art because remember we went through all these different skills, all these traditional skills it takes to be a good photographer. They're all there. All these same skills are necessary to be a good illustrator, to be a good painter. The only 2 that are missing is either the drawing if it's a good drawing, or the painting if it's a good painting. So all that's replaced with the camera, which you have to learn the camera, how to use the camera, how to operate it properly with all the lenses and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of extra knowledge you have to learn to be a good photographer that you won't learn being a good painter. So, but anyway, both are art, right? Now, with AI art, is just generating AI art? I don't know. I think it's definitely kind of a form of art. To just generate something like this is kind of cool. It took me thinking of a interesting prompt. If I wanted to be more specific, I can get more specific. I think in this way, if you use prompting right, you can kind of be a photographer with it, which I want to make another video about. So I'm not going to get too much into that now. But you can definitely use Midjourney 5 and be something like a photographer without having to use a camera, where you're instructing it what you want, right? You're telling it, I want this specific, you have a specific vision in mind. And if you had the photographer and if you had the camera and the location you can go to, or if you want to do a landscape, or you have the idea in your mind, but you don't own all the equipment, you can use AI to kind of create that image you have in your mind. So you are still bringing an idea you have to mind, and you still have to have an idea of lighting and something about composition stuff. But anyway, it is a talent, right? To get very specific things you want out of AI generation is a talent. I don't know if I would call it an art form in its own. Maybe it definitely takes something though. But if you want to do what I do, if you want to create the kind of images that I just showed you, if you want to create this kind of stuff and other stuff I've done but I can't show because a lot of it's not work friendly. Let me see here. Like here's one I did. If you want to do things like this, or you want to do my John Wick image that is very popular right now, or something like this. Or here's an old painting I did that I updated. If you want to do work like this, or very specific things like Chitara and her very specific outfit, you cannot generate this. Try as you may, this isn't going to happen. Maybe in the future when AI gets super, super smart and you can like show it a couple drawings and then say, make that, keep all the details the same, but put her in such and such a pose in such and such a place. That will probably be possible in the future. As of right now, it is not possible. That's going to take linking like something like ChatGPT into an image generator, but it's probably going to come in the future. But as of right now, you can't get anything specific like that. You have to use my techniques. If you want to create something like this, you want to create Black Widow in her very specific outfit and everything, this takes using my techniques. If you want something like Batgirl in a very specific kind of outfit, this takes my techniques. So definitely take the course and learn it. And this is definitely an art skill. This takes understanding all the things in the very least, it takes understanding all the stuff it takes to be a good photographer. But more than that, because it does take some artistic talent, not a whole lot. You can paint and draw rather sloppily, but you have to be able to understand that it's in a good composition, that you have a good gesture and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm not relying on AI to create my gestures here. I am generating them myself. I'm coming up with the poses and I'm doing the sketches, I'm doing the quick paintings and so on. All right, so that's it. This is a long video, but I felt like it really needed to be covered because look, AI is the future. It is the future. Get on while you can now, because I don't know how much longer this technique will be valuable where you can make really good money doing it and get really popular really fast. Once you have the popularity and everything changes to where you can actually talk to AI and get something specific like this, you will already have an audience built up for yourself. And then you just start using the new techniques and everyone is loving everything you still do, right? So get on board now before it's too late. This is something that a lot of people are going to miss out on. There's a lot of money to be made right now. Do me a favor, if you've watched this far, just hit the thumbs up button real fast. Just give it a like. I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithms and all that. And YouTube really hates me because I was one of the few artists way back in the day that fought YouTube tooth and nail, got suspended, all kinds of stuff because of pushing the limits with some sexuality and stuff. Now all that's allowed on YouTube, thanks to people like me who basically had their accounts ruined because of it. And it's really hard for me to get views and stuff now because YouTube just hates me for that. But maybe I can build the channel back up. I've thought about trying to build the other channel up, but that's not working out so good either. So anyway, thanks for watching.